This is crazy. It's genuinely insane. It's probably one of the most dangerous stunts I've seen in wrestling or anywhere in the world. But it happened a few days ago in Glasgow. And we're just going to be asking, is this a sporting triumph, a glorious magic trick, a dangerous mistake, or was it a needless risk taken by the company and, in particular, the new ICW Women's Champion, Rhio? But before we show you the clip, let's go back and offer a bit of background to everyone who may not be familiar with the ICW. It started in a community hall in Maryhill, Glasgow, 2006, to what I understand was a capacity crowd of around 20 or 30 people. But it very quickly grew and expanded, becoming one of the UK's biggest promotions, selling out 15,000 tickets at venues like the Hydro, getting a television deal, and regularly touring all across the UK. Now, the style was a punk DIY ethos with adult storylines, so all the events, for the most part, are over 18, and it's kind of adult storylines. And there's a good bit of Scottish humour flung in the mix to balance out the more hardcore violence aspect of it. Kind of like, think ECW meets Chewing the Fat, and I'm sure there's probably people in Scotland going, what is ECW? And there's probably people in America going, what's Chewing the Fat? But it's the best I can do to describe what it was. But it was a good underground movement from Glasgow, a bit of humour, a bit of violence, kind of whack it. And the story goes is that it goes on Vince McMahon's radar, the buzz of ICW, the buzz of these other UK independent promotions. It gets on his radar. He's got quite a ruthless reputation of either buying out the competition or destroying the competition by any means necessary. But the way it was kind of the angle that it was kind of sold to everyone was that it was more like a development deal for to make like a kind of UK version of WWE. And so that meant that these independent promotions signed a deal with the devil, so to speak. And he takes about 20 or 30 of the best Scottish and British wrestlers onto the WWE books, and the rest of the promotions are left with what they have to develop new talent, and they're now on the WWE Network, which is a monthly subscription thing to watch WWE events, but now it's including all these independent promotions as well. So this kind of split the crowd. On one hand, you've got people saying, this is the opposite of what underground wrestling's supposed to be about. They've sold out. This goes against everything that people at ICW should stand for. This is the equivalent of a sort of independent punk band signing with a major label. It's going with a corporation. So there's a lot of people who felt that way. But on the other hand, there was some positivity as well, because having these promotions on WWE Network meant it was easier to watch these things, and it meant everyone in theory should get a decent payday and international exposure. It also meant that you would have big names making guest appearances in ICW, and you did. And it also meant from the wrestler's point of view, you'd have an easier, more direct path from being a young Scottish cunt to headlining WrestleMania in the States. And Drew Galloway, who is a good Ayrshire boy, actually did do this and won the world title at WrestleMania during lockdown, but he was already over and well on his way before this deal. But the idea that these UK promotions would now be a development pool or a feeder group to WWE, I can imagine that most of the wrestlers themselves would be excited by that, if not all of the fans. So between that and Mick Foley, Triple H all coming to Glasgow for special guest appearances, there was a lot of buzz and positivity about the move, despite a large, uneasy and cautious feeling among many supporters. And the reason for that is the main issue for all of these things is always creative control. And the fact that ICW is aimed at 18 plus, while WWE is very much PG, at best, mostly universal. And that's in order to keep the advertisers on side, so, they're against blood and things like that. Anything that could piss off an advertiser, WWE is hesitant to do. So, and that's the opposite of what ICW were doing. So, I can't comment on the shows themselves, but I think just if you take away the adult stuff and WWE being aimed at kids and ICW aimed at adults, I think one of the other things you've got to add is corporate bureaucracy, being able to take risks or think outside the box. So if you add corporate bureaucracy, not being able to do things that might be seen as risky, and you're losing all your biggest stars, it does seem like ICW did struggle. And I can't comment on the shows themselves, as I rarely seen anything at all on social media in the last few years. Unless you're subscribed to the WWE Network, and I wasn't, then these promotions ultimately vanished for someone like me who's just a kind of sort of watches it occasionally. Now, it could be also, it's worth mentioning that there was lockdown restrictions which ruined live events for everyone. It wasn't just the music industry, it was everyone. And so if you can't have people going to the live events, then that's obviously going to be a problem. There was also a speaking out scandal that a couple of the wrestlers and former wrestlers were embroiled in. And there was a tragic death or two that shook the industry to its core as well. So it wasn't plain sailing for other reasons. But like I said, for me as an outsider who didn't watch it all the time, it just seemed to kind of vanish. And I loved watching the rise of ICW, and I went to events myself. I felt the crazy atmosphere firsthand. And I even made a very small cameo at one point. I got clotheslined by Grado at a charity event. And my band played a halftime show once where we obviously get booed. But just seeing stars like stars being born, like Grado, who's doing amazing stuff, the commentator Billy Kirkwood, just seeing how much he's improved as a comedian and as a commentator, and watching the BBC and Vice documentaries, which if you haven't seen, I'd recommend them. Things that just that kind of were bigger than wrestling. Things like Frankie Boyle jumping on stage and telling everyone to take magic mushrooms. The cast of Still Game. And I can imagine that it must have been a buzz for the wrestlers and the audience to see these famous American guys turning up for special guest appearances as well. So, I mean, whether you like wrestling or not, the rise of ICW was punk rock and unashamedly Scottish. So I just liked seeing them doing well. But like I said, that was years ago. And the first time I'd actually heard of ICW in ages was the news that them and a bunch of other indie promotions had parted company with WWE, with the rumour being that it's because Vince McMahon wants to sell the business to Saudi Arabian billionaires. So after that announcement, the owner, Mark Dallas, promised to go back to their underground roots. And with, almost instantly after that promise, it takes us up to now where we got this truly jaw-dropping moment. That takes us to now, present day, where Molly Spartan is about to throw Rhio off a balcony in a Glasgow nightclub called The Garage. Now, the question here is, was there a mistake made, or was this a perfectly executed magic trick? What do you think? I'd like your comments on this one. Now, can I just warn you, by writing in the comments that it's fake will not make you look as smart as you think you are. We're not asking if it's scripted or not. We're asking if you think this was deliberate or not. It's certainly had the desired effect of going viral. and being bigger than wrestling. I mean, when was the last time ICW was mentioned here on You Call That Radio? So it's had the desired effect, which is why I disagree with Andy in the Facebook comments who said, was this spot really needed? And response with, yes, it's ICW, not PG WWE. And yeah, it is what you'd expect from the old school ICW. So I think what a lot of people in the comments are saying is, was this needed? Should this not have been like part of a bigger storyline where, you know, maybe Rhio was taken away for 2 months to hospital and then comes back for a rematch or something like that? But I think it was probably needed in the sense that ICW did need that viral moment to let their fans know that the events are going back to the extreme side of things again. Adam says that spot took a lot of guts, but not only did it appear to go south in a very dangerous way, but they are now caught in a trap to make the rematch even crazier. Well, I think I agree with Adam that, of course, it takes a lot of guts. Did it go south in a dangerous way? I think possibly. Are they caught in a trap to make the rematch even crazier? I don't think so. I think it's job done in the fact that they've created a name for themselves, both of them, and they've given ICW that viral moment to let fans know that they're back. I don't think they have to outdo it next time. I mean, how would you even outdo that? Where would you begin? But the fact that it's worked, because, you know, I've started looking, it's got me intrigued, and I've been watching a few other videos, and I found out that they now have a character who is a staunch Rangers fan gimmick, who comes out to the ring to Tina Turner's Simply the Best. So that's going to get them a bit of extra Old Firm heat. And I would assume that there's going to be a Celtic fan who will appear, and they'll probably go head to head at some point. Probably on an Old Firm day with a drunk Glasgow crowd with a Celtic fan and a Rangers fan fighting in the ring. And that sounds absolutely wild. Maybe a stupid idea, but entertaining, yes. Stupid, yes. Edgy, yes. But I think that's where they're trying to go back to. And it was Gavin and a few people have said that the guy failed to catch her. And that's what it looks like to me as well. I mean, was this part of the illusion? Or did they just mess up? I don't know. There's always a smoke and mirrors element to this stuff. But this just seems so real to me. I mean, to my eyes, when I'm looking at that, this looks like either the pushes went wrong or the landings went wrong. I'm just glad everything was okay. Rhio ends up coming back, wins the match and the women's title. She's since tweeted that she's 100% fine and they're now having a rematch. So, if this was executed and happened the way it was meant to, then round of applause for everybody. Round of applause. It got me, if the users have all planned that. And fair play to Rhio and all the wrestlers for having the guts to put themselves through the pain barrier for people's entertainment. If that was a mistake, then obviously that's something that needs to get looked at. But either way, fair play to do that and then continue to fight after that. So well done. These guys are true athletes and mad bastards. Well done. Anyway, thought I'd do something a bit different today. Remember to like, subscribe and leave a comment if you'd like to see me do more stuff like this. We also have a Patreon and stuff in the info below if you'd like to support the content and receive bonus material, free stuff and discounted stuff and that. And you can become a YouTube member. All that info's in the bio, the whatever. Aye, so let me know if you wanted me to do this again. I just thought it was interesting and I thought I would mention it because it's something from the underground of Scottish culture and it grabbed my attention. So there you go, let us know what you think and I'll see you soon. Bye!